I don't know what number we're on. I think 12 on Biggest Trick. I'm actually just babbling about my life because I'm talking about victim ideology, right? So I'm getting like 25 grand tax free every year. This is back in the 80s or whatever, and I didn't have to do anything for it, man. And I just that was when I fell into that victim ideology, man. I was a victim from then on, and as time progressed, I just smoked pot and whatever, and kind of became a criminal. But the criminal part wasn't even about money. I didn't even make that much. It was more about fun. It's just something to do, really. But I did that all the way up till I was like 22 or something, 23, 24, whenever my dad died. Then I was screwed. Even then, because now I was already I already had the victim ideology mindset, right? I already had it. Caught the bug, the disease, right? And I just let it go, whatever. Anyways, my brother was stealing all the money from my dad's death, right? I'm there sitting thinking I'm going to get something sooner or later. So, anyways, I went to investigate or whatever, and I went to his attorney's office and went rifled through some stuff. I got 30 grand that I could grab before he knew that I was there, and he told the attorney, "Hey, don't let him be in the files." You know what I mean? So I did get 30 grand or something like that, right? Cash. Could have bought a house. Could have done something with that. Just spent it all. No accountability. No, I was a victim. You know, it was down to my last couple grand, and I started. I got a phone call from somebody, and I was like, or maybe I called them. I don't know. But anyways, I started going down south and transporting drugs up. You know what I mean? So I got caught, and then I just was in and out of homeless. Nut houses. I worked for 6 months, and I'd go nuts. I'd be homeless and then be put in a nut house. I get out of the nut house. I work 6 months. What's funny is when I worked the 6 months, I'd be homeless. I worked like 2 jobs, you know. But maybe that contributed to me, not handling it or whatever. And then after, a decade of that or whatever it was, you know, say I'm 35 by now. That was when I finally woke up. So all my bridges have been burned. All my, yeah. And I got a job cutting grass for a landscaper guy, right? So I only had to work half of the year. And the other half of the year I could go take a break and then for Christmas maybe go get a Christmas job. So that was the only thing that saved me really. And I made my own business. And for the last 25 years or whatever until I got on disability, I was. But even that was getting ready to run out. Because Biden came and it didn't affect anyone that had a business because all you had to do was jack up your prices, right? So all I did was jack up my prices 25%. Everyone knew that what Biden was doing, so nobody cared and everyone liked me. So, but I had 2 vans that were broke down or that were, on their last leg. And if I didn't get my heart thing, because my business was going down and down and down because I was getting old. But it wasn't until I was getting old, I was getting stage 5 heart failure. So I'm going down and downhill, right? And I needed to get another van, right? And I had the money, man. But I was buying like $1,500 vans, man. And after Biden, that went up. It would cost like 12,000. Some of them wanted $16,000 for the $1,500 car. I couldn't. What? Yeah. So if I didn't have my, go to the hospital, almost die or whatever, and I needed a heart transplant. If that didn't happen, see again, no accountability for me. Because because I can't get SSI or whatever you call that, Social Security. I only filed one time in my life, and that was when I was 18. I only worked 6 months. Yeah, or whatever, whenever it was. But yeah, no accountability. A lot of luck. I mean, as horrible as my personal or life or or economic life or whatever, I've had it really easy. I haven't had to work a lot. That's for sure. Uh, so, but can you imagine after being on the welfare and the life that I had, for you to say, even when I was homeless, man, for you to say you got to go get a job, man, that was like saying go get wings and fly around the room. Just sprout some wings and fly. That's what I heard. I might as well heard when you would say go get a job, wake up, get out of this victimology. But it is hard to get. I mean, it took me a decade or a decade and a half to get out of the victim mindset. It is impossible to get out of that mindset. And it destroys everything, really, man. It destroys everything. But what's funny about this, going back to the non-binary family that doesn't know they're non-binary, and their cookouts or whatever, what's funny is the one girl I've been hanging out with since I've been sick or whatever, 2 years or a year. I keep complaining. I actually had to cut her off because I understand now. She's non-binary. That's why she acts like that. But she keeps everything I say to her. Because if it's a man trait, she's been taught that it's evil. So every time I act like a man, she's put, it's a big argument or whatever. If she says something and I say something that I just disagree. That's all. I'm just giving my 2 cents. No, she twists it all around so that she's a victim and I'm actually oppressing her. So what's funny is all these non-binary people came to me, all of them, and they said, okay, hey, all these people are crazy. I keep telling them stuff. They twist it around so that they're the victim and I'm the oppressor. I mean, they didn't use those words. They used their own words. And I'm thinking to myself, you are all insane. You're all doing the same thing to each other, and you're all wondering why it's happening. And the whole reason why it's happening is because you're non-binary. If you would just be a woman, you would just be happy as a lark. But just like a fish, if you put him in water, he'll be happy as a lark. But if you make him climb trees, he's not going to be happy. Okay? So that just cracked me up, man. They're all pulling me aside. Why are these people acting like this? Well, at the same time, they're acting like that and treating me like that and everybody else, I guess, like that. But how do they destroy the society? This is where the important part comes in right here. They demonize, just like the black people, right? You dressing for success properly, they demonize success. You talk properly, like you're talking for success. No, anything that deals with success, they deem it as acting white, which means you're evil white racism is, white. So what do these women do, right? The man comes, right, to one of the boyfriends, right? He stopped. There was a kid, I guess, with a motorcycle, probably 18, whatever, and he's on the side of the road. So he stopped. Probably took 2 minutes, 5 minutes before he checked the tank. You know what I mean? And he realized that the guy was out of gas. So he had a little tank of gas, in the trunk. So he gave him a little gas just so he can get down to the gas station. And then he came and he told everybody, well, we're all there, right? The girlfriend demonizes him right there. I can't believe you did that. You're always doing that. You're such a fool. What an idiot. Oh my God. And then all, groupthink, all the women all had to put their 2 cents in and keep going on and on about it for 5 minutes about how he's an idiot, what a loser, he's a dupe, everyone just uses him, but he's so stupid. This is a total stranger, like, that he helped. It wasn't like some guy keeps asking him for stuff or whatever, the same guy. But you see, if you demonize good behavior, guess what? The good behavior stops. And then you live in a ghetto. See, that's how you create a ghetto. You demonize being not a ghetto. Okay? There are literally, I see black women on many videos saying that they can't stand a guy who's good to a good father. If he's good to his kids, I just can't be with a man who's good to the kids. Like, what? Like, that's how crazy it is. That is how insane it is. And all these videos too, the mother thinks, okay, this is what a mother thinks, a single mother, that the parent has no right to direct and teach his child. Yeah, look them up. There's videos galore. They say it's not their right to teach and direct their child, even though it's a duty. Like, you know what I mean? It's a duty, you idiot. Come on. Come on. So, and there's videos up all over the place with these women saying, and because they'll be being interviewed, right? And the interviewer will be like, well, what do you mean? If you're saying if you have facts that you look at and you agree that the facts are all true, that you will disregard those facts if you just have a bad feeling about it. And the woman will say yes. And they always say this too, because it's the moral thing to do. It's the moral thing to do. That's what they're teaching their children. These single mothers, they're crazy. And then they always demonize the two genders so that the child ends up being kind of less gender than what they are. And that's literally what a non-binary person is. And then they grow up and they're emotional men, crazy women. It's always the same. They act just like a non-binary, blue-haired chick, right? Right? And I'm going to give you a couple things about these things, right? One of the women, right, every time I bring up a man, she says, well, I ain't going to let him punch and kill me. One time I said, what do you think about no-fault divorce? She said, well, what is it? Just, so I make sure, I have an idea. I said, it means that there's no fault in divorce. So nothing bad happened, no cheating, nothing serious, nothing. You just basically fell out of love. She says, well, I still believe in no fault divorce because I'm not going to let no man punch me and kill me. Even with that, she literally just asked me, this is like, you know what I mean? I tell her, no fault means no fault. No, there's nothing bad that happened. She says, well, I still think we should have no fault because I'm not going to let no man. That doesn't make sense unless you hate men. And everything I say to her, she always has to qualify it, with a man. Well, I ain't going to let him punch me in the face and kill me. Over and over. And their children hear this, you know what I mean? The other one, right? Remember I said at the beginning, a couple videos ago, that the daughter, or the granddaughter or whatever, was living with a man for over a month with his father. Everyone agreed that he was a weak type person, right? He looked like a woke dude that had like a bun, even though he didn't have a hair bun, right? So he's very unthreatening, all right? Very unthreatening, and she's lived with him for a month, okay? And she said, he might be a serial killer. he might be a serial killer. And we had to argue about it a little bit.